Even when we call it the slow time of the NFL offseason, the NFL still makes some noise. Some significant noise was made on Monday that could have a trickle-down effect for the Silver and Black. That plus more on Tuesday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for July 1st, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. The show continues to grow each and every day. That's because of your consistent support, even in the off season, even in the slow time of year. Your consistent support each and every day means the world to us. So we definitely appreciate that. We also appreciate my man Ari, who does a fantastic job behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day on the YouTube page. So we shout him out. We appreciate him. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And of course, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you, 707-654-4693. And as we normally do, we'll close out the show hearing from you. Really good texts, really good calls, a lot of great feedback. We'll keep that party rolling. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Segment number 2, I mentioned it on Monday's show, Raiders Squad, the new show that we have brought to the Locked On Podcast Network. It is not taking the place of this show. It is addition to this show where I get to rap with my buddy Lincoln Kennedy for a while. Didn't know if the show was going to actually debut on Monday. I didn't know if it was going to debut today. We actually had the show. It went live on Monday morning, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. I thought it went really good, especially for the first show. But for anyone who didn't get to hear it, you'll actually get to hear a few minutes of what to expect and what we did on Monday's episode. So just a few minutes of that coming up. Segment number 2, we'll actually have our show number 2 from the Raiders Squad show coming up on tomorrow. So we're going to consistently try to do it at the same time, around 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. That fits best with my schedule. It fits really well with Lincoln as well. So we're going to try to keep that rolling. But as I mentioned before, probably won't be able to do every single one of the shows, but definitely try to get the majority in, and Lincoln will do the same thing. So we'll give you a little bit of a taste test of what that Raiders Squad show sounded like on Monday. And again, if you subscribe to this podcast, you subscribe to our Locked On Raider podcast YouTube page, then you're good to go. You already get the feed in your subscription. It's easily right there wherever you find your podcast. Whenever you go to the YouTube page, boom, it's already right there, so you don't have to do anything. Just press play and enjoy. So you'll hear a little bit of that coming up, segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day, and there was plenty of news and notes going on in the NFL. Even though it was about to be the start of NBA free agency, the NFL said, nah, not today. We're going to have some really significant news. We'll get into that after we celebrate and acknowledge the Hood holiday, the first of the month. Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month. And look, you only get 12 opportunities at best to say that, right? You only get 12 opportunities if everything falls the right way for you. So since today is July 1st, it is the first of the month. Like I said, always like to acknowledge the Hood holiday. But let's go ahead and jump into the news and notes of the day. And the big news came down early on Monday. As a matter of fact, we had just started with the Raiders Squad show. All of a sudden, my phone starts going off. My texts start going off. Twitter starts going off. A lot of information is rolling through. I had already prepared for my Joe and Q show on ESPN Radio. And like I said, was already starting to deep dive into the Raiders Squad show when we found out that Jalen Ramsey, formerly of the Miami Dolphins, has now officially been traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, there was no surprise that Jalen Ramsey was traded. There was no surprise that Jalen Ramsey got traded around the date that he did, right? We have been talking about it here on the show quite a bit. Expect for him to get traded around July. Well, again, as I acknowledge the Hood holiday, today is July 1. So he gets traded on June 30th. And again, a really big deal. Now, where it got a little squirrely and sideways and was a surprise to me is the compensation, how it actually all shook out. So Adam Schefter tweeted out, full terms on Monday's Steelers-Dolphins blockbuster trade. And trust and believe, blockbuster is a great way to word it. Steelers are getting cornerback Jalen Ramsey, tight end Jonnu Smith, 2027 7th-round pick, and the Dolphins are going to get safety Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 2027 5th-round pick. Whoa. Wait, what? Right? At first, when the news broke, it was just Jalen Ramsey. They're completing the deal to the Steelers, and there was no compensation. Then all of a sudden, you start, wait, Minkah Fitzpatrick? Right? They're going to do a pick swap. That's going back to Miami. Wait, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, Jonnu Smith is added to the mix as well. So now the Steelers not only land Jalen Ramsey, but tight end Jonnu Smith, giving Aaron Rodgers another weapon, which Obviously, that's letting you know the Pittsburgh Steelers are all in on this season, which if you have a 40-year-old quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and he's on a one-year deal, you better be all in, right? They've made a lot of significant moves this year. Clearly, they're trying to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make a run here. Hopefully, it works out. I'm not a firm believer that it's going to work out. I really don't think it's going to shake out. I think you're going to see a lot of change and a lot of new in Pittsburgh next season, but they got to get through this season first. Not only to mention the players that are trading places, the Steelers are taking on the bulk of their new cornerback, Jalen Ramsey's $26.6 million contract. He got a $1.5 million raise to go to Pittsburgh. The Dolphins are responsible for a smaller portion. Why am I bringing that up on this show? Well, because we had talked about in great detail, and it's funny, on Joe and Q on ESPN Radio, my guy Jonathan Zaslow was actually filling in for Joe Fortenbaugh on Monday, and Zaslow is a Dolphins fan. He's there in Miami, and he said, Q, this is no surprise that Jalen Ramsey got traded. The surprise is the kind of compensation that he got in return, right? To land Minkah Fitzpatrick, right? We were talking about it here on the show, maybe a 4th-round pick, maybe a 5th-round pick. They got an absolute stud in Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I know he had a down year last year, but that's a hell of a player. He's younger. He's cheaper than Jalen Ramsey. And his culture, the leadership, the way he is in the locker room goes a long way as well. So clearly the Raiders, John Spytek and company weren't going to go all in on that kind of deal. Could you imagine us talking about a Jalen Ramsey trade and some big significant player from the Raiders was traded in just to go ahead and land Ramsey? That would, I know Raider Nation would not be happy. I know I'd be upset about it. I went on my radio show on Unnecessary Roughness, Raider Nation Radio 920 Monday afternoon, and I was like, man, once again, I got to shout out to John Spytek, Pete Carroll, and the rest of the Raiders front office for not going out there and reeking of desperation like the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Jalen Ramsey obviously will not be a Raider. Now he's a Steeler. We also saw Jair Alexander, who before I went on vacation was released by the Packers. While I was on vacation, he signed a deal with the Baltimore Ravens, so he won't either. It feels like to me the Raiders are all in on who they have. They're not going to go out and make a move for a veteran cornerback, and I'm fine, especially if the terms of a trade were something like that when it comes to Jalen Ramsey. Now, how else could this affect the Raiders? Well, as I mentioned, Jonnu Smith, who had a hell of a year last year in Miami as their tight end, really the best year of his career, that's one less weapon that Tua Tagovailoa now has. So there's reports out from Pro Football Talk. Shereen Williams wrote an article there. Also, Omar Kelly of the Miami Herald said that the Dolphins are interested in sniffing around the league in tight ends. And he said one of those teams, again, according to Omar Kelly of the Miami Herald, is the Raiders, as Miami has had its eye on tight end Michael Mayer for a while. So I'm sure that that's not a surprise that Michael Mayer's name has popped up. We know so far in his Raider career, it has not been what any of us expected it to be, from his rookie year where he was underutilized to last year where he had to step away for personal issues. I think we all kind of saw the writing on the wall when people started talking about the Dolphins are looking for tight ends, that we were pretty sure Michael Mayer's name was going to pop up. But Vinny Bonsignore from the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Raider Nation Radio 920 said the Raiders have no interest in trading Michael Mayer. That's what Vinny said on Twitter. Now, does that mean that that's set in stone? No, not at all. I'm sure if Miami calls up John Spytek and they have a really good deal in place for Michael Mayer, I'm sure they could probably work something out. Like, nothing is ever set in stone just because it's reported that they have no interest. That could be a bargaining chip just to go ahead and drive the price up a little bit more. And if they want him bad enough, maybe they will go and bend over backwards and give up a lot for Michael Mayer. Remember, this guy was a guy that was a former second-round pick of the Silver and Black. But I do know he had a really good camp. I know that the Raiders are really liking what they're seeing from him. Chip Kelly likes him as offensive coordinator. Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, and Ian Thomas. Let's not forget about Ian Thomas. Could be a difference maker on this Raiders offense, right? This is a 3 tight ends. So, again, I could see a place where Michael Mayer could be on the move if Miami wants him badly enough and they go out and they give up enough compensation to the Raiders and they feel like that's worth the move. But I don't think that he's going to be on the first thing smoking to Miami, that's for sure. But just keep an eye on that because it could end up becoming a little something. Finally, here in segment number 1, today's Locked On Raiders podcast news and notes of the day. This also has to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this just kind of made me scratch my head. And honestly, Raider Nation, I'm still scratching my head. The Steelers have made so many moves this offseason. Aaron Rodgers, right? They made the move for DK Metcalf. They traded for him, gave him a contract extension, right? They brought in now Jalen Ramsey. They brought in Jonnu Smith, right? They're showing all these signs that they're all in on this season, right? Everything that they've done. They got rid of George Pickens, right? Because he was a malcontent in the locker room, so they want to make sure they're good to go. So why did Adam Schefter tweet that TJ Watt could be available, or at least teams believe that he could be available. Obviously, he's a big-time edge rusher for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's a guy that me and my dad have talked about multiple times when I'm coming back from the barbershop. He's like, hey, what's this deal with TJ Watt? And I keep saying he ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. That's the Steelers guy, right? And there's been multiple times when he's in contract negotiations. No, he didn't go to OTAs. No, he didn't go to mandatory minicamp. No worries, TJ Watt is going to be available. But this tweet kind of blew my mind from Adam Schefter. He said, sources, in recent weeks, multiple teams have been discussing whether they can trade for Steelers standout TJ Watt, who skipped the team's most recent minicamp. Pittsburgh hasn't shown any willingness to deal Watt so far, but he's unhappy with his contractual situation, and sources believe outside team interest is likely to increase given today's trade. Now, I'm not the smartest dude in the world. I'll be the first to tell you that. I don't understand how a team could show that they're all in by the moves that they made, including going and getting Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey, and then teams on the outside are like, yep, there's a chance that they can go get TJ Watt now, right? I feel like that would be the biggest key, and that's going to make your corner that much better is by having a dominant edge rusher, right? I don't see how that shows that you're all in if you go and make a move like that. I'm not questioning Schefter's report. I'm just questioning why that would even be a possibility. That's my question, not if what he's saying is true or not. I believe what Schefter's got to say, right? I know that he's way more dialed in than I am, but that to me blows my mind. TJ Watt's at around $28 million a year, right? And obviously you saw what Myles Garrett is getting a year now from Cleveland. We know what Max Crosby's getting now a year from the Raiders. We know what Danielle Hunter's making. I mean, there's a lot of edge rushers that are making a lot more money than one TJ Watt. And so he's not too happy. I think it'll get worked out. I don't see a situation where TJ Watt's not a Pittsburgh Steeler in 2025. But also, like I mentioned, with the Michael Mayer situation, something to pay attention to, something to monitor. I'll say the same thing when it comes to TJ Watt. If I was leaving the barbershop right now and I was calling my dad and he asked me, I'd say, well, a couple weeks ago, I was 100% sure he wasn't going anywhere. Now I think that there's a slight chance. I still don't think he's going anywhere, but I think the possibility could be there. So do with that as you may. But a very interesting turn of events when it came to news and notes around the National Football League on what was supposed to be NBA free agency, the big day in the NBA. All it's going to be is NBA, NBA, NBA. No, the NFL stole the show, as they always do. So there's that. Coming up in segment number 2, you'll hear what we had to say on the Raiders Squad show. It made its debut on Monday. Again, wherever you find this podcast, wherever you get the YouTube page, you can find that show as well. It's not taking the place of this show. It is an addition to. Just want to give you a little taste test of what you can expect moving forward from that show. We'll do that coming up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before I get to that, though, I do want to tell you about one of the great sponsors here on this show, and that is Monarch Money. You ever wish managing your money felt easier? I'm sure you do. We all do, right? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. Track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. It's simple. In addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And sometimes it is a big eye-opener when you're on this app that you could do so many different things with, and basically you boil it down to, well, how much do I have food delivered to the house? How much do I take rideshare services? And then you see how much money you spend on that, and you're like, whoa, okay, that's where the money went. So if you have financial goals, you're something that you're trying to target, that can help you do that as well, all with Monarch Money. Right now, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. It's all one word at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. The promo code is LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to give you a little bit of a preview of the Raiders Squad show. It was a show that debuted here on the Locked On Podcast Network, continuing to expand what we do here on the network, and it's been really good to me ever since I started back in 2018. That was John Gruden 2.0. I've been rocking ever since, and this show has been growing ever since. So it was announced on Friday by one of the hosts, Shantelle Chand, that it was going to be a show that we're doing, myself, her, and Lincoln Kennedy. And a lot of people thought, whoa, what's going on? There's a show going away. So I was very adamant about it on Monday that no, the show's not going away. We're just adding to. We're just, making more, providing more content for Raider Nation, because we know how passionate Raider Nation is. And again, it's something that the Locked On Podcast Network is trying to do for all 32 teams in the National Football League. Again, a twice a week, hour-long live stream for every single franchise. That is the goal. So it's either going to be, well, it's supposed to be Mondays and Thursdays or Tuesdays and Fridays. But this week it's going to be Monday and Wednesday because of the holiday week, right? Having the 4th of July coming up on Friday. So that's going to throw off the whole week. So we're actually doing our second episode coming up tomorrow. So I just want to give you a little bit of a preview of what to expect. Again, Shantelle Chand, sideline reporter, Seattle Storm, TSN Network in Canada, betting expert when it comes to boxing, football. She's got it covered. She does a really good job as a traffic cop, as the Howard Cosell, right? She goes ahead and sets up myself and Lincoln Kennedy for some really good conversation. Yeah, Big Link, former Raiders offensive lineman, part of the Raiders radio broadcast. You know, he's a wealth of knowledge. He's a real good friend of mine. I've been blessed to be able to, have him on my radio show, be on his shows, just hang out at the Raiders facility and watch practice with him and pick his brain. I've had that opportunity. I'm very, very blessed. And then, of course, myself. And when one of us can't make it, as I mention all the time, Amber Thea Harris is expected to be a part of this as well, and she's a wealth of knowledge as well. So if she slides in for someone, you're not going to miss a beat at all. She's fantastic, one of my favorites, SiriusXM NFL, Raiders Silver and Black Show, NFL Network, sideline reporter, Westwood One, draft coverage. I caught up with her in Green Bay. I think that was the last time that I saw her in person, but she's fantastic, so she's part of the mix as well. But I just want to give you a couple minutes to understand what the gist of this show is, what to expect from this show. And remember, this is just the very beginning of day one's episode. Check it out.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to the first episode ever of the Raiders Squad show. I'm Shantelle Chand, joined alongside Lincoln Kennedy and Q Myers. Guys, it's the first episode ever. How you guys feeling? I know training camp is less than a month away, but just your thoughts on this show and, what it's going to do for pretty much Raider Nation, especially on game days, post game, all of that.
Well, Q, you want to start off?
Well, look, I'm excited. I'm fired up. I'm like that dog that's been in the back of the car on a long road trip for a really, really long time and just can't wait till the door opens and so I can get out and run. That's how I'm feeling. I'm excited. I think that that's natural when there's a new staff in place. There's some new energy. There's some new excitement. Obviously, you see the draft picks come in. You think about what they can do. So there's a lot of natural excitement built up, but there's also an excitement built up for me because Pete Carroll has a track record. He has a resume of what he can do. And so I'm hoping that this staff and their plans and everything that they have in place is going to get this organization back to being just win, baby, commitment to excellence, and that meaning something and not just being a T-shirt slogan.
Well, guys, I'm really excited about it, and it's a pleasure to be working with the both of you. Look, this is a great opportunity. Every year, it seems to project some sort of confidence from a fan base on what their team can do, because every year you have the draft, you have the mock-up with the combine and everything else, and people automatically think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. But I'm a little bit more practical and realistic when it comes to it because I've been around this team for over a quarter of a decade. But the thing is, guys, is that you have that level of optimism that every fan wants to see. And we have to convey that passion to the fan base. And this is a great opportunity. It's a great platform for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, you guys got me hype. And you mentioned it. Pete Carroll has not only made things exciting in the news, but also he's been making noise as well at the facility. The players are talking about him. The media is raving about him. Q, I know you've probably talked about him a lot on the show. This is a Pete Carroll era for the Raiders. And we're going to get into that in segment 4. We're also going to talk about the draft class as well and some negotiations that are still ongoing for a very important player on the O-line. Link, I know you're going to have something to say about that, but why don't we actually start off by talking about the Raiders offense, guys, because I want to ask if it's underrated because the Pro Football Network actually had it ranked 29th in the entire league. Now, this was an offense that was ranked at the bottom 5 last year, but obviously some new pieces, some very exciting pieces. You got a new quarterback in Geno Smith as well. Let's start off with you, Q. Your thoughts on the Raiders offense, and do you think they're underrated right now, or do you think they're getting a little bit of hype as well?
No, I think they're getting some hype. I know that the PFN numbers, 29th, that's not going to be anything that someone's going to get excited about and fired up about, but it's because it's so much questions, right? I mean, there's a lot of expectations that this offense is going to be good with a new quarterback, new running back, new offensive coordinator, right? There's a lot of new that everyone's expecting to be really good, but until it's actually out there, until you can actually see it, until you see that offensive line come together, until you see the wide receivers doing what they're supposed to be doing, Brock Bowers in year 2, right? You don't really know. But my expectations are for the offense to have a real potential. But again, potential is, it's untapped so far. So they've got to be able to put it all together. That's going to be the big question.
I'm a perfect believer, and you don't know what you have until you see it out there. Okay. And until they go out there and play, I don't care what's on paper. I don't care what it's written like. You got to put these pieces together. And that's why football to me is the greatest team game out there. It takes 11 guys out there on the football field performing as one, or you don't have success. So I think the Pro Football Focus, I've never really been a big person in analytics, but I think the Pro Football Focus, I get what they're doing, and I get where they're at. You just have to see it. And look, we're probably going to have to wait quite a while to see the finished product, because I don't know how Pete Carroll has been in the past, or if he's going to change his stripes in the past. There's a lot of coaches out there that don't play their players in preseason. So we don't necessarily know of all the pieces they get together. And Shantelle, Q and I have worked together many times over the past couple of years, and he's always heard me talk about, until you get them out there playing together, you can't build that cohesiveness. You can't build that togetherness. And we're still talking about pieces that aren't missing with Colton Miller, which we'll speak on. But everything has to come together. And the only way it's going to come together is out there on the football field.
Just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste test, just in case you're wondering, well, what's this Raider Squad show all about? I think it has the opportunity to be a really good show. Again, if you do it twice a week, it's an hour-long live stream. I think that's great. And if every single franchise across the league can get one here on the Locked On Podcast Network, I think that would just be so much fun. And if it switches things up a little bit, right? You get used to hearing me all the time. It's kind of cool to be able to have some other analysts to pick their brain and go in different directions as well. So I really do think it's something that you're going to enjoy. But again, as everything that's new, you've got to advertise it. You've got to promote it. I didn't really have an opportunity to tweet out, the link to go ahead and log on to it, just because I didn't know when it was going to actually debut. I was very vague about that on Monday because I wasn't 100% sure. But I feel like we're going to get in a really good rhythm. Like I said, tomorrow's show is going to be Wednesday, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. So you can tune in then. Just expect it. And Big Link is fantastic, man. Love working with Big Link. And Shantelle is very good as well. Obviously, just getting to know her. But I think that this show, especially since that was just day one, it's only going to get better and better. I know there's a lot of Raider Nation that had tuned into the comment section and was commenting on the show, and we try to hit comments during the show as well, since it is a live thing. So again, I feel like it's something that we're going to have a lot of fun doing. Hopefully we're able to continue to make this thing grow and take it to the next level, because Raider Nation, as you know, it is all about you. It's all about your patience and your passion behind the silver and black, and being able to come back to this show each and every day, and all we do for the content as well. So that's what I got for you, Raider Squad show, a little bit of a preview. I know I said I was going to talk about training camp and kind of the schedule, as I have it right here on my computer screen. I'll get to that tomorrow. As I mentioned, I was going to do that unless there was some big news that happened, but everything we talked about in segment number 1 was such big news that I thought I had to dedicate that whole segment to that. So don't worry. 2025 training camp, I got the whole calendar right here, right in front of me. We'll definitely get that on tomorrow's show. There's no doubt about that. But I wanted to make sure you had an understanding of what the Raider Squad show, what it sounded like, what it was all about. Coming up in segment number 3, we hear from you. Your calls and texts, 707-654-4693. You close us out next here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with Sucker Free Raider. He's calling to talk about the call that we got on Monday from Oakland Senior, and where he got real philosophical, and then he got some good comparisons as it pertains to music. And I'm always down for some good music conversation. Here he is, Sucker Free Raider.
Hey, what's up, Q? Sucker Free Raider, man. Welcome back from the vacation, whatever. Had a quick little something I wanted to compare. It's like a comparison thing. I used to do music for like professionally for most of my life. I don't really dabble too much anymore. I went by the name of Mr. Key, MRKEE. Done little tours, been on the radio and everything, man. You might even play me out in the valley back in the day. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because it kind of so first comparisons. The guy that called in yesterday about the philosophies and stuff like that. Music, when I did music, it was like the competition, the level of competition brought everything out of you, because rap was like competition and stuff. So if you weren't that good and I was getting on a song with you, man, I can dang near freestyle and be like levels above you. But then when it came to other cats that were dope, You know what I mean? I had to step it up. So I can see what he means by this whole competition thing, which is very, very, very good, because it never made me feel like, oh, that guy's better or this and that. It was like, even if I knew he got me, it was like, man, I stepped it up though. I stepped it up. So, comparison number 2 was more on the mental health game of it. It's like, man, I've been up, like I said, radio and all this stuff, rocked thousands of people at shows. And I know how it feels to where I had 2 phones. It's like my phones wouldn't stop ringing. But then when you're kind of out the game, you see the difference. So these players, man, they've been told they were dope all their life and, you know, coming up and this and that. So when they finally make it to the league and then they get put into a position where it's like, man, now you're being told you suck. Now you're being shipped off to each team. My perfect example is like, you know, that cat Desmond Ritter, when he was on a interview and dang near crying because of his daughter and stuff like that. It's like, man, we as fans, we're quick to tell these guys they suck. We're quick to kick them to the curb. And it's like, man, I know the feeling of being on top of the world one day and then not the next day. But I got tough skin, and I'm sure these guys got tough skin too, as far as like they've had to go through perseverance through their life and everything too. So did I. But so that's my little 2 comparisons, man. The competition level is a great thing. And, you know, the mental health thing, man, you got to be strong. I mean, even AP, like, where's AP at? I'm sure he's doing fine. He cashed his check and everything. But, you know, it's got to hurt, you know, when you watch the social media or like I said, any of these players that got shipped off or whatever, social media can get you. So I hope everybody stays strong, mentally strong out there, man. And this goes for anybody. You don't got to be an athlete or musician or anything like that, man. Just stay mentally strong because it ain't the end of the world. You feel me? Let's go, Raiders.
Sucker Free, a.k.a. Mr. Key. Definitely, hey, man, I definitely remember Mr. Key back in the day, man. Just remembering those album covers. You collaborated with a lot of dudes that I'm really good friends with, man, from the Bay to the 559 and beyond, man. I definitely remember Mr. Key from back in the day. Black and Brown Entertainment, right? That's awesome, man. That's awesome. But I do like the comparisons. I like the way that you broke it down when you're comparing athletes to musicians. And I think that artists, I think that there is definitely some parallels there, right? And you know, I think that that's anything that's competitive. You know, I would say that's even the same thing when it comes to radio guys. Like there's some of us that take it real seriously, and there's some that always want to drive it to be great. And that's where I like to put myself. I want to be the best, even though I'm not ever going to claim to be the best. I just want to be the best. So I understand what you're talking about when it comes to the drive, the competition, and where you put yourself, being obsessed with something, you know, and then I love the mentally strong aspect of it as well, right? And we talk about mental health around here quite a bit. I think it's a big deal. We're learning more and more and more about it and how important it is. So really, I love the way you rounded out that call, man. Really good stuff. And a shout out to you, man. Mr. Key used to run with all my guys, San Quinn, all those guys, man. I bet you know all my dudes, man, from back in the day, as I'm sure I know your guys as well. But thanks so much for that call, man. Really good stuff. Next, got a text from Bo in the 530. He says, hey, Q, it's Bo from the 530. Hope all is well. I'm texting in because I previously had a call that made your show a few weeks ago that was about Henry Ruggs. I saw a video, and he said that he was released, and he did an interview in front of some media people. He went on to apologize for what happened. Then he was asked the question if he'd be willing to play for the Raiders. He said that he wanted to finish what he started. I know this is a sensitive topic, but I wanted to ask you and Raider Nation if you're willing to forgive him and let him prove himself. I know that every situation is different, but like I said before, there have been a lot of players that have had second chances in the league and made the most of their opportunities when given a second chance. I think it'd be awesome and a great redemption story. Not trying to get religious about stuff, but forgiveness is in the Bible, and I believe in it. God bless you, Q, and go Raiders. That's Bo in the 530. And yeah, I remember that event. It was actually the day that I was about to take off for vacation, and Vinny Bonsignore reached out to me and said, hey, Henry Ruggs is speaking at this event that he has as part of his program. And if you want to go, here's the address. But I was preparing for vacation, so I couldn't go. I did hear some of the audio that you're talking about and what Henry had to say. And look, I'm not the guy that is the executioner. I'm not the guy who makes the decisions on people's lives, right? As you said, not trying to get religious on the show, but forgiveness is a powerful thing, and I do believe in it. Right, I do believe in it. And I know that it's sensitive. Obviously, a young lady and her dog lost their lives. That's nothing to play around with. But yeah, that's between Henry. That's between him, the man upstairs. I would say Tina Tintor and her family. right? And Henry seems to be, and I don't know him. I just know him from being around the facility. I don't know who he is, off the field, this, that, and the other, not trying to act like I do. But he seems like a pretty good dude around the facility. He was really quiet. But again, I don't know him, but from Henry Ruggs in the locker room, Henry Ruggs on the football field. If a team wants to give him a second chance, I don't doubt that they wouldn't. We've seen guys get second chances in the league for plenty of different things. And again, not trying to compare situation to situation because every one of them is individual, but I'm sure not the guy that's going to say, hey man, no room for forgiveness. I'm not going to do that. Right. Because we've all made mistakes, and some of us have made big mistakes that you just don't bounce back from. Right. Or are very hard to bounce back from, and you can never kind of get out of your mind. And some of us make smaller mistakes that you're able to move on from, but we've all made so many mistakes that I'll be the last guy to say that, hey, there's no room for forgiveness, because I know the big man upstairs, he forgave me for everything I've ever done. And so forgiveness is a big deal. I'm with you on that, but we'll see how it all plays out. Again, that's going to be up to different teams. I know Josh Jacobs still stays in really good contact with Henry Ruggs. He said multiple times that he's talked to teams about, bringing him back. And I think it'd be a great story if Henry could work something out with Tina Tintor's family and really kind of dedicate what he does to them, and even be one of those guys that goes around and speaks to people and say, hey man, I had everything and look what happened to me, this is why. I mean, sometimes you just need that in your face as a message, as your story. Again, I know everyone has their own philosophies. I'm not trying to pound you with anything that you don't want to hear. I'm just, like I said, I'm not the guy that thinks that I'm going to put my nose up in the air and not forgive anyone. Because you're right. Forgiveness is a powerful tool. It's a powerful thing. And it's important. So we'll see what happens. But I think it was a really good text. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Raider Noah in the 801. He's calling to talk about Ashton Jeanty and him as a high school player and what he just realized about the connections to where he actually originally grew up. Here's Raider Noah in the 801.
Good morning, Q. It's Raider Noah in the 801. Currently 5:36 in the morning. I'm driving off to work. It's Monday morning. I just had a thought cross my mind, man. So I was living out in North Dallas for about 10, 12 years of my life, and move out to the 801 Utah here, and we drafted Ashton Jeanty and started doing a little deep dive on him whenever we drafted him, and I forgot that man played high school football in Frisco, Texas. I believe it's called Lone Star High School. I know exactly where that's at. I used to live about 20 minutes from there. We used to play football against that team. I mean, when I was playing football in high school, we were playing Lone Star and what other else teams that were sitting in that county. It's just crazy to think about that. The future running backs for the Las Vegas Raiders, my hometown team, the people the team that I love the most. We're drafting a quarterback that's from dirty old Frisco, Texas. Oh my goodness, let's get this thing rolling, baby. You don't understand how you're from Central Texas. I'm sorry. I do apologize. You do know ball out there in Texas. They know high school football out there, Q. They know how to work their people. They know how to get their fingers dirty and get their hands on the ground. I'm so excited, man. I am absolutely stoked for this season. I'm just really hoping we can get Jackson Powers Johnson. I almost messed up his name. We can get Jackson Powers Johnson on the line. He can get the rest of the O-line motivated, dude. I'm so excited. Let's keep this thing rolling. Raider Nation for life, baby. Let's have a good day.
Big Noah, thanks so much. Appreciate you. And yeah, Ashton Jeanty played high school football in Frisco. He grew up a Cowboys fan, which made it real easy for me to kind of tie the dots together. Like, well, the Cowboys need a running game. Ashton Jeanty would be the perfect running back. He's from the area. He grew up, in a military family. So when he got to high school football, he was actually playing that, as you mentioned, there in Frisco, Texas. And oh yeah, Texas high school football is second to none as far as I'm concerned. With the way that's taken seriously, I mean, that's taken more seriously. I remember my times in Central Texas, high school football meant more than the Dallas Cowboys did. And that's just the reality of it. So, I'm excited to see what this young man could do, not only this year with the Raiders, but obviously beyond. Obviously, he's going to be a huge asset, and he knows what it looks like. Right now, he's got to put it together as the rest of the Raiders do, but definitely believe he's going to be a huge asset to this Raiders team moving forward. Thanks so much for the call. Do appreciate you. Up next, I just got this will close out with this one. A text from Big Fish Raider. Sub Q, Big Fish Raider hitting you up from behind enemy lines in the 816. I've enjoyed this game and I want to play. One word for the following. Okay, Pete Carroll, steady. Geno Smith, professional. The Raiders as a whole, hungry. Raider Nation, for the first time in a long time that I can remember, confident. Appreciate you, homie. Out. Big Fish Raider. That's when we were having the conversations about one word for the Raiders, Geno Smith, and head coach Pete Carroll. Steady, professional, hungry, and confident. Those are some really strong, powerful words. I like that. Big Fish, thanks so much for that text. I appreciate you. Speaking of Geno Smith, let me go ahead real quick. A lot of people hit me up about this 7-on-7 dust-up that we saw on social media over the weekend. It was about a 30-second clip, and you heard Geno Smith talking about that's why they pay me the big bucks, and people are trying to make it out to be a really big thing. I had a couple people call into my radio show on Monday and was like, well, what do you think about that, man? I got to get your thoughts. One, I didn't talk about it because I didn't have context. There was only a 30-second clip, so I don't know exactly what happened to lead to why Geno Smith was saying what he was saying. So I didn't really take too much out of it. I like to know more information. I don't like to make a judgment based off a 30-second clip, right? And that's what a lot of, these social media aggregators do right now, and these, clickbait, we always talk about clickbait. They do that where they'll just take a snippet. People do it to me all the time on the radio show, and they've done it to me on this show. They'll take a 10-second bite and say, oh, Q said this. Well, you see here, it's right there. And it's not really necessarily what I said. And they'll try to make it sound like, I'm being someone that I'm not, or whatever the case may be. It's not just me. It's with a lot. So I didn't really want to deep dive into a 30-second clip without knowing the context of why he was as upset as he was at a 7-on-7 event. Right now, Geno did take to Twitter on Monday. He said, having fun with the game I love, but man, the needs for clicks and negativity takes away from the great event that happened this past weekend. All the kids had fun and competed. All around great event. This is how we talk in Dade County. I'm sorry you might not understand. Carry on. That was Geno Smith on Twitter. This is why I'm bringing it to the table. I love what Max Crosby said as he quote tweeted him and said, you don't have to explain nothing to nobody, brother. F them all. That's my quarterback. I brought that to the table because, again, there's been people saying, oh, well, there's a quarterback controversy. Oh, Aiden O'Connell's going to outplay Geno Smith, and Aiden O'Connell's doing better than him, and it's not Geno's team. And I keep saying there is no quarterback controversy. There's the leader of your team right there. Max Crosby saying, that's my QB. That's my QB when he's talking about Geno Smith. If you needed that much evidence, so be it. There it is. But I just want you to know how the leader of the team is cutting for that guy, Geno Smith. There is no QB controversy. So there you go. That's going to do it for today's show. Big Fish, thanks for the text. Thanks for all the feedback today on the show. And hopefully you enjoy what you've been hearing as we're now back from vacation. Of course, it's a weird week because it is a short week with the holiday coming up on Friday. Not only the 4th of July, Independence Day, but also the late, great Al Davis's birthday as well. So as we wrap up the show, again, we'll get into training camp format. What stood out to me, we'll do that tomorrow unless for some reason something really big happens again, which in the NFL you never know. But we're going to go ahead and show some love to my guy, Mr. Key, a.k.a. Sucker Free Raider. A little snippet here. Welcome to the West Side. West Side from the 14 Karat Dreams Project. Back in the day, I believe this came out in 99. My man had the CD cover back in the day like Master P, right? No Limit Soldiers, that album style. He collaborated with a lot of my friends and folks that I rock with from back in the day. So here's a quick little snippet. I know I can't play. I know Ari right now is like, no, don't do it, Q. We're going to get in trouble. I know, but we're only going to play a couple seconds. But shout out to my guy, Mr. Key, a.k.a. Sucker Free Raider. Welcome to the West Side.
On the West Side, killer California, palm trees and G's, we be swanging like kamikaze, steady hustling for the cheddar cheese, no mistaking, the state be popping, better learn your game and keep it tight, now the beat straight knocking, 12 inches, 2 amps and 6x9s, every time you need to.
Sorry, Ari, I couldn't help myself. Sorry, dude, I couldn't help myself. You know how I get down. So that's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow. Training camp, news and notes, your calls and texts. We got you covered like a glove. You know how we do. So until then, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.